Chords are made up of single notes, and those single notes have tensions within a key. Now, what I mean by that is this. One of my favorite little stories is a story about Beethoven and his wife. And his wife used to get Beethoven out of the bed in the morning by going to the piano and playing this. And poor Beethoven would have to get up and finish the scale off by doing this. So and the reason for that is that there's tension in that note, in that seventh degree of a major scale. Now, I'm not going to make this a extensive treatise on harmony, but it does affect our rhythm playing and how we think of rhythm playing in this way. The 5 chord in every open key is, when we're talking about the open keys on the guitar, guitaristically speaking, they are C, A, G, E, and D. And the 5 chord in each one of those keys can be played as a triad, or it can be played as a 4-note chord, as a 7th. Either or, it's a little dependent on the idiom. So let's just take a look at the key of G to begin with. We can play the 1 chord, 4 chord, 5, and back to 1. So here I played that 5 chord as just a 3-note chord, as a triad. The notes in this case are D, F sharp, and A. All right, and then return. But I could also play that chord as 1, 4, 5, 7. You hear how I have a new note in there now? And that new note creates a tension. More tension, and that additional tension is leading to the 1 chord or the tonic. The same idea as that little demonstration at the beginning, where there's tension in notes, and those notes want to resolve themselves to the tonal center or the key. In the case of the D7 chord, it's begging to be resolved back to its 1 chord. And that's, you can hear that. And that tension in the 4-note chord, in the D7 chord, is stronger than the tension and the motion to resolve in the 3-note chord. 3-note chord, 4-note chord. So you have this note, F sharp, wanting to go to G. And you've got this note, C, now, wanting to fall to the B. All right. Now that applies to every single key. It doesn't matter, yeah, what key you're in, but it does matter a little bit what idiom you're in. If you're playing by ear and the tune is sort of more of a rock focused kind of tune, sometimes those 5/7 chords don't work. But in folk and traditional country and sing along stuff, those 5/7 chords will work as often as they won't, or even more than the triad. So let's just look at the 5/7 chord in each of the open keys. We have G, as we just looked at, D7. In the key of C, we have the C, and our 5 chord is G7. G7 can be played in a couple of different ways. Well, more than a couple of different ways, sorry. This is a common one, it's in all the chord picture books. It's a 4-note chord, G, B, D, F. There's my F on top, which is begging to resolve to. right? So that's 5-7 chord resolving to the 1 in the key of C. Here's another option for the G7 chord, and not played very much actually, but I like it better than the other one. And we put the 7 here on our 4th string. Right? And I just don't bother playing the top string, so I'm just playing. I'm playing the root and the 7 root 3rd. This chord doesn't have a 5th in it. All right, and resolves. All right, so there's a G7 going to a 1 chord in the key of C. How about the key of A? In the key of A, we have 1. The 5 is E, and then 1. And I would suggest learning the E7 like this. There's my 7th, the D, and then returning to A. Or you can use this 7th as well, putting this 7th on top. You can hear again where those notes want to go, right? This is really important to begin to hear the tensions within the chords that you're playing. So you're not just playing, that kind of rhythm style, but rather start to listen to where the individual notes want to resolve within the chords that you're playing. Even if you are playing in a rhythm style, it'll make your playing so much more interesting and fun. Let's go to another key. How about the key of D? In the key of D, we have the 5 chord is A, and here's our A7. My G note is the 7th in this case. And it wants to go. Or we can also do this 7th. You can just hear it begging to go. Right? All right, and so we've done the key of G, the key of C, the key of A, right? Yeah. The key of E we haven't done. And the key of E is, right here is your E, and then here's your B7. And back to your E. B7, E. In fact, the B chord, the B triad in the key of E is a bit of a bummer, right? Because you really almost have to bar it. So that B7 in the key of E is highly preferable, isn't it? All right, so this is what this is about. The 5 chord as a triad is cool and it's fine, but it doesn't have as much tension leading to the 1 chord as the 5-7 chord does. I haven't yet mentioned, and I should, that the 5-7 chord still only uses the notes of the scale of that key. In other words, if we're in the key of G, the D7 chord only uses the notes of the G major scale. So we're not throwing in some note out of nowhere. We're just adding an extra note from the scale, making the 5 chord a 4-note chord. The reason we make the 5 chord a 4-note chord is because it has more tension, it has more forward motion to the tonic. There's lots and lots of different ways to use this. And what I would suggest in terms of your practice is practice all of your 1, 4, 5 chord progressions, like G, C, D, with the 3-note G, C, D, the triad, or the 4-note G, C, D, 7. As a matter of fact, you can put them together as well, and now you've got 2 levels of tension. I'll show you what I mean. So you can hear that the D triad going to the D7 there's still forward motion going, moving toward that tonic because you're adding that extra note in the D7 chord. So work on that. 1, 4, 5, 7 chord progressions in the 5 most common open keys being C, A, G, E, and D.